No, they're not on.
Good evening. Let me call to order the regular City Council meeting for the City of St. Helena for Tuesday, November 28th. Mr. Doring, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you. Place your hand over your heart and follow with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Testing. Okay. Mayor Galbraith.
Here.
Vice Mayor White.
Here.
Councilmember Doreen.
Here.
Ellsworth.
Here.
Coberstein.
Here.
All right. Next on our agenda is public forum. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address us with respect to matters that are not on our agenda tonight, and public comment here is limited to 3 minutes. Does anybody wish to speak at public forum?
Oops. Is this on? No. Okay, my name is Bobby Manette. I'm speaking as a citizen. As some of you know, and maybe don't, some of you will know now, I am a member of the Napa County, what? Is it on? I'm a member of the Napa County Tobacco Advisory Board. I've been here other times with things from, and we had our last meeting today. So I thought I would just share with you, let you know, pass these around, that we have really an excellent county program for smoking cessation. And we've got more money this year because of things that you don't need to hear about. But and so these classes are really good. This flyer is bilingual. I was wondering if I could leave a couple. I don't know if this is appropriate to leave a flyer at the City Hall. I don't know if that is it. Okay.
Sure.
I'll leave some in the back, too. And I also wanted to either remind you or inform you that the city ordinance and the county ordinances regarding smoking in parks applies to cannabis as well as nicotine. And the idea is it's not about, judging whether you should smoke these substances or not. It's about secondhand smoke. So it's for the vaping and the secondhand smoke, the laws are the same. So I didn't know if everyone knew that, since we just recently got our parks ordinance to ban cigarette smoking from our parks because of the secondhand issue. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else wish to speak at public comment? All right, I'll close public forum, and then we will turn to reports by staff and City Council, future agenda items, and AB 1234 reports. And let me start with the City Manager, Mr. Prestwich.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, a couple of items related to the SHAPE Committee. The SHAPE Committee has met a couple of times and most recently took a tour of city facilities, and that same tour is now available to the community. And we have sign-up opportunities on the website. We've identified 3 dates: Thursday, December 7th at 1 p.m., Saturday, December 9th at 9 a.m., and Tuesday, December 12th at 9 a.m. There are 6 seats available in each of those. We will schedule additional tours as demand requires it, and so we'll anticipate continuing to provide these. But these available tours can be found on our website, and there's a link to how you RSVP.
All right. Anything further? Ms. Bitts?
Thank you. I wanted to give a quick update to the council and the public on our annual CAFR, so our audited financials. 2 weeks ago, we did have our auditors out here for their final site visit, and I'm pleased to announce it went very, very well. And I do want to give a special thank you to our Administrative Services Manager, Mandy Kellogg, who's actually in the back with us tonight. She is the person who heads up the CAFR and the annual audit every year, and she did an exceptional job of getting everything together for us, put in a lot of hours, extra hours, weekends, evenings to do it, and we are on track to get the audited financials completed by December 31st. We should have an electronic version shortly thereafter, and then a printed version probably about mid-January, so we'll be presenting that, and I'm anticipating the second meeting in January.
All right, and CAFR stands for Consolidated Annual Financial Report.
Yes. Anything about the consolidated part, yes.
All right, good. City Clerk? City Planner, Public Works Director.
Yes, I do have a couple announcements. First, I want to still address the ongoing odor and taste issues in the water. The water's still meeting the state public health standards and testing, but if you please bear with us, we're still trying to make adjustments, and it'll take a little while for the water to be distributed through the system and filtered out. There is still the information on our city website addressing the natural causes for the taste and odor, which is the lake effect, algae, and the different environment effects. But other than that, just if you have a really concern, give me a call or send me an email, and we'll reach out to you and respond, or come taste your water. Because some complaints concerns that have come in actually have been something on their side of the house and not the city side. But just to let you know, it's still going. As far as the Oak Avenue emergency storm drain repair, the work is complete, and we will be bringing the notice of completion back to City Council on December 12th. The work, it was emergency work, force count. We approximated the cost. It went over a little bit, but we'll bring the notice of completion to council, and we'll still stand by and watch what the storm's doing. The storm drain repair or the non-repair work south or north of the site on Oak was about Spring Street, just south of Tainer, that we replaced 300 feet of storm drain, and
it was badly deteriorated, no doubt about that.
We found one tag, which unfortunately the contractor disposed of before we got a picture, but it said 1932 Kaiser Steel on it. So we're very fortunate that we made it this far with it. It lasted its design life more than twice. So
I think you exaggerate the word lasted. It didn't last, and that's why the emergency repair.
Correct. So we'll continue to monitor, their locations. Right now, the rest of the area looks solid, but it was. I'm glad that work is complete. And then construction we are in the stormwater season, and if anyone has open sites that they're working construction on, we are coming around checking on stormwater, and we'll cite you if you're not having your best management practices and fiber rolls out and discharging dirty water into our storm gutters. So just be vigilant, and no problems. So that's all I have to report.
All right, very good. Ms. Coberstein? Mr. Ellsworth?
Nothing.
All right. Mr. Doring? All right, and I have nothing either, other than I hope that everybody had a terrific Thanksgiving and reflected on how lucky we were through the firestorm that we lived through in October. All right, that takes us to presentations and public recognitions, and we have an Arbor Day proclamation. Let me go up there, and Mr. Uribe. Okay. Proclamation. Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife, and whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products, and whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community, and whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, whereas the city of St. Helena has been recognized as a Tree City, USA by the National Arbor Foundation for 20 years and desires to continue its tree planting practices, now, therefore, let it be known that the city of St. Helena has declared the 16th day of November 2017 as Arbor Day and held tree plantings in recognition of Arbor Day for the purpose of expressing our support for efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. Thank you. You have a word or two, Mr. Gilbert?
Other than Good evening to all, and take a peek where we planted them. So they're in Baldwin Park. We did 5 trees, 2 crepe myrtles, and then 3 October glory maples. So in a few years, a lot of color out there.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next item is the consent calendar, and I'm going to read them off. And again, if any member of the council or any member of the public wishes an item withdrawn from the consent calendar, then we'll go through the normal hearing procedure. 8.1, consideration proposed approval of city council minutes of, as listed for various dates in the notice. 8.2, consideration of proposed approval of a resolution authorizing amendment number 1 in the amount of $25,000 to the contract with Larry Walker Associates for 2017 regulatory assistance for the City of St. Helena wastewater treatment and reclamation facility for an amount not to exceed $49,820. 8.3, consideration of proposed approval of 1, a resolution, this one will take a minute or two, A, rescinding resolution number 2017-73, and B, authorizing the MarinIT FY 2718 one-year agreement with MarinIT to provide information technology services for a total not to exceed amount of $88,500, which includes STH contract 2017-040 in the amount of $80,000 for information technology support services and $8,500 for managed host services charges, and 2, a resolution amendment number 1 to STH contract 2017-040 to include supply and installation of cabling to the library board broadband project to the amount of $41,045.10 for a total contract with MarinIT for information technology support services not to exceed amount of $129,945.10. 3, a resolution authorizing a budget increase of $1,852.20 to account 101-4600-2335 and a budget increase of $17,905.09 to account 101-4600-2212 for a total budget increase of $19,757.29 from the general fund reserves. 8.4, consideration and proposed approval of resolution number 2017 blank, approving amendment number 1 to STH contract 2017-066 with MarinIT for $6,202.24 for a total not to exceed contract price of $159,720.89 and authorizing a budget increase of $6,202.24 in fiscal year 2017-18 to account 101-422-02130 to cover unanticipated costs associated with upgrading the city's voice system to voice over internet protocol. That's it. Hearing that none wish to be withdrawn from consent, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Move to approve.
Second. Is there a second?
Second.
City Clerk?
Vice Mayor White?
Yes.
Councilmember Ellsworth?
Yes.
Coverstein?
Yes.
Doring?
Yes.
Mayor Galbraith?
Yes. Then that takes us to our first public hearing, 9.1, consideration and proposed adoption of resolution number 2017 blank at the moment, establishing a revised 5-year schedule of water and wastewater base rates, use rates, and rate structures beginning with the December 2017 billing cycle, inclusive of service provided in November 2017. So let me first ask whether we have a staff report. And so everybody can understand, by state law, I'm required to follow a bit of a script. So bear with me as we go through this. I've been giving marching orders to follow the script by the city clerk. And, of course, I always obey what the city clerk tells me to do. Ms. Mitz?
Thank you. Just a real brief staff report on this item. As many of you know, on November 29th, 2016, the City Council did adopt the current rate structure. Following the adoption of that rate structure, City Council did provide direction to form an ad hoc utility rate committee to review the current study and then also make recommendations, if any, to the City Council for revisions to this study. The The rates that are in front of you for adoption tonight do come out of the recommendations from the ad hoc committee, followed up by further recommendations from the city council. And so city staff at this time is asking for the city council to adopt the rates that are put before them tonight for the water and wastewater system.
All right. Do any council members at this point have any questions before I open the public hearing? All right. Now it's time to hear from the public. I would like to remind everyone that if you wish to file a written protest against the proposed new water or wastewater rates, you must deliver it to the city clerk before the close of this public hearing. Notice of tonight's public hearing was sent to all property owners and all water and wastewater customers. Those notices detailed the requirements for submitting a written protest against the rates. There are additional copies of that notice at the back of the room. Only written protests that contain all the required information received by the city clerk before I close this hearing this evening will be counted. If written protests are received for a majority of the parcels that would be subject to the new water or wastewater rates, we will not proceed further. If you submit a written protest, please make sure to specify whether you are protesting the water rates, the wastewater rates, or both. I will now open the public hearing. Any interested person may speak to the council on the proposed rates, whether you are in favor of them or not, or just have something you wish to say about the rates. If you would like to speak, please approach the lectern, and I would like those that wish to speak to line up so we can see how many we have. Very good. So please proceed. Identify yourself.
I don't want to follow her.
Oh.
My name is Lowell Smith. Mine is procedural more than anything else. I'm still in shock. Last week I got a bill for water rate that was 4 times the normal amount, and some kind of a letter saying because of the smoke you couldn't read the meters or what. And I'm just trying to clarify that in my mind because I'm still in shock. And that's last week. This is the current rates. This is not the rates that's going to be put in place. So can someone explain what was happening there?
Sure, Ms. Mitz.
Thank you. Yes, due to the fire circumstances and the power outages we did experience within the city of St. Helena, our public works staff was spread very thin during that week. So unfortunately, our public works staff was not able to go out and do the meter reads, which they typically would do, and it was during the week of the fires. And so what had happened was when the October bills that were sent out, they were sent out right around the 15th of the month. When they were sent out, they did have a letter accompanying them letting everybody know that there were no usage charges for water for the October billing cycle. And so if you look at your bill, you'll see your water base rate, your sewer base rate, and a sewer use rate, but you will not see a use rate for your water. And then for the following month, so for the November billing, we were able to do the meter reads, so that is considered 2 months worth of consumption, and that was a letter that did accompany all the water bills this month. So the consumption for water is double what it would have been because you didn't pay for any consumption in October.
Okay, I will be coming into City Hall to get more clarification on that.
All right. Thanks very much, Mayor Smith. Estelle?
My first comment was really for Carlos Uribe. I'm sorry that he left. I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree. And I'm very proud to live in a city that's famous for its trees. I think it's wonderful. So it's been about a year since we started discussion of utility rates. A lot of things have happened in that year. And I definitely approve of what you're going to vote on tonight. But I'm really just getting up to thank those of you who worked very vigorously to make sure that this happened. Those members of the City Council I want to thank, and the staff as well. And also the Utility Rate Committee. Tom Vance is here tonight, and Bonnie Long, who chaired the committee, Mark Smithers, Joel Gott, Lester Hardy. I'm sorry, I can't remember the rest of the names, but they did a fabulous job, and then you folks backed them up, and I just want to thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further?
Thank you.
All right.
I forgot just one thing. I wanted to mention, because we talked about trees and everything, we lost Joyce Beatty. For those of you who have lived here very long, Joyce was probably the ultimate make things happen person that I've ever been involved with. I served with her on the Beautification Foundation, which she was the chairman of. Beautification Foundation's been around for 48 years. It is independent nonprofit. It raises funds. It buys trees for the city. Has purchased nearly all the major tree plantings that I can recall here. And a lot of it, like you say, is the determination of folks like Joyce to make things happen. And I'm sure many of you have had interactions with her over the years because she was a real doer and she made things happen. And I will treasure the chances I've had to go to many meetings with her.
Yeah, I appreciate your comments very
Thank you,
much.
Mayor. I echo those comments.
Absolutely, we all do. All right, let me go back to our our item here. At this point, I'll close the public hearing. Thank you all for your participation. City Clerk, can you tell me if there is a majority protest against the proposed rates? Do you need a brief recess?
No. No, I don't believe so.
This is the first time you haven't asked for one when offered the chance.
So, the city clerk's office has received 4 protests with regard to the new water rates. Because there are 2,529 parcels subject to the water rates, it can be clearly seen that the number of the protests received is less than 1/2 of the parcels that would be subject to the new water rates. Therefore, a majority protest has not been filed as to the water rates. The city clerk's office has received 4 protests with regard to the new wastewater rates. Because there are 1,761 parcels subject to the wastewater rates, it can be clearly seen that the number of protests received is less than 1/2 of the parcels that would be subject to the new wastewater rates. Therefore, a majority protest has not been filed as to the wastewater rates.
All right, thank you. Is there any further council discussion with respect to these rates? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adopt the resolution establishing the revised schedule for water and wastewater rates. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
City Clerk?
Councilmember Doring?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Ellsworth?
Yes.
Oberstein?
Yes.
Mayor Galbraith?
Yes. Very good. That takes us to our next item of new business. And I think, Ms. Smithies, you're up. It's an informational update on traffic safety enhancements on Highway 29 and Pratt Avenue vicinity.
Thank you, Mayor Galbraith. I just wanted to provide an update on the status of what we're doing for the traffic safety enhancements. When the directions provided this September 26th, I requested a proposal from one of our Master Professional Services Agreement consultants. That allows us to go direct to the consultants within that master list. And GHD provided a very well planned out traffic analysis based on the direction provided at council on the 26th. I wanted to bring it back to council to see if you had any additional thoughts. As far as we know, at the minimum that we'd like to get the radar feedback signs along the north side of Pratt Avenue along State Road 29 in or around the Tunnel of Elms. But in addition to that, look at the traffic and safety enhancements that are around the Pratt and Highway 29 intersections, either a signalized intersection, enhanced crosswalks, half signalized intersection, and or no project. But at least evaluate that. Their proposed cost is approximately $22,000. If they were to kick off on the 12th, they're estimating the work for the feedback signs could be done and installed around May of 2018. That's, of course, taking us through the Caltrans encroachment permit process. That could be rigorous. But so I'm thinking May is a good time, conservative. And then also for the pedestrian safety enhancement study at the crosswalk, we need to get pedestrian counts, see what our numbers are like there to make improvements, and also look at traffic accidents in that area. Recently it came to our attention that maybe perhaps we should also look at Elmhurst as the nearest alternate crossing along Main. If that's it's fairly close, that maybe they could get the pedestrian counts in at the same price or a little bit more or less. Mm-hmm. But just since we're so close up to this council date, I hadn't kick-started the professional services agreement with them in case there was additional direction provided by council. So if you have any questions.
Any initial questions? Does this, maybe I missed this, but does this include beyond radar signs, other potential traffic calming measures on Pratt Avenue?
Yes. So the approach from council on the 26th that we provide you, and you provide, yes, please do that. It was at the minimum, make sure that we get the radar signs installed north of 29 or north of Pratt and the southbound, northbound directions. And then include in that study an analysis of what kind of improvements, recommendations that the consultant would, based on a traffic analysis and study, what improvements should be proposed at that intersection. Should it be a signal at this time? Should it this time just be enhanced safety signs for pedestrians, motorized awareness on their approach to the crosswalk? Should there be no crosswalk there? Try to do the small, medium, large look and analysis at that intersection.
Do we have any timeline from the county as to when Pratt Avenue might be reopened?
They keep giving the same solution. If they can move forward now, there's like one-time funding this coming year that could speed it up. But right now, it's the end of their phase list of all the improvements to be done from the disaster, the storm disaster that they had this last year. It's a 3 to 4 year window. I keep being told it could potentially be moved up.
All right, so it's still a significant time off before we're going to see the dead end street removed from Pratt Avenue.
Correct.
So that gives us further time to consider further calming measures on Pratt Avenue, including radar speed signs when it is opened.
Yes.
And at some point, I do know that a number of the neighbors have thought about never reopening Pratt Avenue except to pedestrian traffic, bicycles, and perhaps emergency vehicles. But that would be a bigger discussion. But it doesn't need to be now. My sense of it is that we need to focus right on the Pratt Avenue, Highway 29 intersection at the moment. Is there any? Yeah, please.
I have a follow-up question to that. I mean, what does that do to the whole traffic analysis and the data? You don't have nearly the traffic on Pratt that you would normally have. So is there some adjustment going to be made based on historical traffic on Pratt when the bridge is open?
Yes. So there was early projections. Thankfully, we did have a recent proposal to expand the dormitories on Pratt Avenue. So we have fairly recent traffic studies. I believe it was the 2016 he did counts. So that's good information, and then they can project off of there based on industry standards for growth.
Okay. Any other initial questions before I open the public hearing?
Will there be analysis on the effects onto the Cronulla Park and Elmhurst areas as well, if they do the traffic analysis? If there's traffic calming measures put at the intersection of Pratt and Main, will it have a ripple effect that goes into these other areas? Will that be looked at?
I can check in with the consultant. Usually when they do a traffic analysis, they where's the traffic moving? But this is mostly about pedestrian enhancement safety. But I'm sure that wouldn't be precluded from this.
Any further initial questions? Let me open the public hearing. Does anybody in the public wish to speak to this issue at this point in time? Ms. Manette?
I wasn't planning on this, but I was just wondering, since the zoning of the dorms on Pratt would include possibly a hotel. I mean, a hotel could be put in that zoning. I'm wondering if a change in that use would be appropriate to consider when you're doing a traffic analysis, unless the zoning is going to change, or no? Okay. But
No, there wouldn't. We got to look at current conditions and based on the current.
All right.
Mike Griffin, Park Street. Since the bridge has been closed on Pratt Avenue, the traffic has declined there. But prior to that bridge, when you guys put the limitations just on Pope Street, the length and the width of vehicles, the traffic increased probably by 50% in that neighborhood of Park and Cronulla area. It's a regular thoroughfare now for everybody coming into town on the Silverado Trail. They cut up Pratt when the bridge was open and down through Park because they can't get on Main Street onto Cronulla, and then they turn right and go up Elmer, so which just increases the traffic all the time. I mean, you've got That bridge closed now. I don't know how you can do any analysis until everything comes into play here, because you're just flipping a coin. Behringer's, they said they turned around and during crush this year, they were only going to have X number of trucks. We've got pictures of 3 to 4 times that many trucks they predicted in a day. And those trucks couldn't get out on Main Street the way the traffic is now. They came down through our street all hours of the night and day. They say they quit crushing or producing the production facility at 4 o'clock. That's a bunch of baloney. 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, they're coming through our neighborhood. So I don't know how you can do any of this analysis till everything gets into play. You know, you got to open the bridge, go in the middle of crush time, and put it all together in one nutshell to come up with a solution of how you're going to deal with that intersection. Thank you.
All right.
My name's Anthony McKelly. I live 1125 Cornella. I'm the one who got all the camera pictures for that entrance, but it's not just Behringer's, it's Los Cabos, which I feel is in violation. And if you would get all these people that are in violation off that intersection, it will become a lot better. Los Cabos runs their little vans there maybe 10 times a day. Big trucks come in probably 10 to 15 times a day. That have nothing to do with Behringer's. They're delivering food for Los Cabos. So if you could correct that, you got maybe 20 trucks a day off of there. And if you get Behringer to comply with their EIR, because some days they did 80 truck trips in there a day, and it's all time stamped if anybody want to see it. And as far as if you want to know what the traffic is like, go up to Deer Park right now and sit there during the morning hour or the evening hour, and that traffic you see going up Deer Park, 90% of it used to go down Pratt Avenue. It's just been, now it has no choice. It has to go Deer Park or Pope. Restrictions on Pope, they use Deer Park. But otherwise, we get all that burden. And it shouldn't be that way. And even now with the truck ordinance you have, and I passed out pictures of what that intersection looks like with the truck traffic. But the truck ordinance. We have trucks right now going through our street, but there's no way to ticket them. We asked this evening of Erica what we're supposed to do here, and we have to have a cop sitting there when one of these trucks from Los Cabos or Behringer runs through there. By the time we call a cop, they're gone. We cannot take a picture. We cannot stop them. The city, in passing that truck ordinance, had to have a way that we, the pedestrians or the volunteer police department, maybe they'll give us a person to sit there during the day so we can ticket these people, because that's the only way they're going to stop going through our neighborhood. And I'm sorry, Erica, but those signs you want to put up, they're a complete waste of time. You should move the red no parking on the east side of Main to the other side, so when you come out of Elmhurst, you can see up the highway. Move the crosswalk from that corner down to Elmhurst, and move that bus stop down also. You got to free up that intersection. You have too much going on there. Now you're going to have lights going off, lights in the street for the pedestrians. It's a nightmare. That's why nobody uses it. They're all coming through Cornella. You got to get the through traffic where the through traffic is supposed to be. Pratt was supposed to be an artery street. We weren't supposed to be the artery street. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter Edlin, 1817 Main Street. I'm sorry I got here a little late, so I didn't hear exactly what was said before this got started, but I just want to bring up the topic of the traffic, I guess they're called humps. And when this item was brought up several months ago about having Public Works come together with some recommendations, I know when I brought it up, there seemed to be council people who were interested in those calming devices being put in. And looking at the agenda on the ceiling here, I don't know whether that's part of your study or anything's been done about those particular recommendations.
All right.
This is specifically on Pratt and Highway 29, but
well, it was part of that discussion. We were talking about traffic safety in that area, and so that's you're carving that out, I see.
But we do have the 25 mile with the radar signs that we're implementing on Elmhurst. They haven't been installed yet, but we do.
No, I was going to bring that up as well. That's when will that happen?
I got to talk to my staff, but we did get those ordered and they are in. So it's a matter of deploying them. Okay. So we got them in right before the fires hit. So is there a staff objection to putting humps in, calming devices in? I've done a little bit of study on this stuff, and they're not something that are unique to
to St. Helena as far as an issue. They're used all over the place. And there are a lot of different types, and they can accommodate emergency vehicles as well.
Correct, and I just went to a conference, and there are some new items that have been deployed that are like that can be used temporarily to see how they work. They're not very expensive, so I'm hoping to bring that. I haven't had time to bring that to the fire chief's attention yet.
Let me just say, as far as as Elmhurst is part of the Main Street, Elmhurst is the beginning of a bypass on the western half going southbound. To the extent you make changes on Main Street, you may impact that particular bypass. Those humps could be very important as far as calming the traffic on that bypass. And looking at the studies I've seen, where bypasses or traffic calming devices are important, would be where you have a school. You have a school. Also, where you have a pedestrian crosswalk in the middle of a street, not at an intersection. And that's exactly what you have at the RLS. And so at a minimum, that should be done.
All right.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Allen.
Thank you.
Any further public comment? All right, let me close public comment. Is there any further council suggestion to staff in terms of what's laid out in the schedule that was presented to us here?
One of the I'm not seeing it on the schedule, but the idea of moving the red zone from the east side to the west side, has that been the no parking zone? Has that been incorporated into any discussion?
That is not in here, but it probably could be reviewed. I could probably talk to them about that. I just want to bring to council's attention that has been brought to council twice now. It was brought back originally in approximately 2007 time when it was moved to where it is now, and then it was brought back to council in 2015 when Los Alcobas was moving forward, and the alternate was to put the red painted curb going in the southbound direction. Council, I haven't listened to the meeting itself, but I found the presentation, and council still chose to go with the northbound red lane. So I could look at that further and come back on maybe the reason, research it, unless someone on the council at that time remembers why.
There was a traffic study.
But there was a traffic. It was supported by a traffic study, but there was the alternate, but the selection was with the northbound red curb.
I don't think it was really a choice brought to the council. It was that was the alignment that Caltrans had approved, and the only reason it had come back was because the EIR had, I guess, gotten outdated, if I remember correctly, and it was just to recertify that EIR is the reason that it came to council in 2015. So, and I believe that both Caltrans and the consultants said that an alignment wouldn't work if the red zone had been moved over to the west side.
I'm a little unclear on this because didn't the red zone go in fairly recently with the hotel? So,
well, we expanded it.
But if you took it away, why? If it was previously you could park there on that side of the street in front of your home, and we took it away for a while, what is the issue about giving it back? And alignment. I don't quite get that.
If I may, the requirement's because you need a turning lane into Los Alcobas. You need that left turning movement, or else you're going to have a major backup up there. When
Right.
Nobody drives in there. They can't.
We watched them turn in this morning.
They do. So anyway,
any
recollection.
Any further council direction to staff at this point, or?
Well, I mean, I'd be in favor of, but if you're saying it absolutely is foreclosed because of that turn lane into, okay.
I did talk with the engineers about a year ago when that was happening, and they did, because I asked if they had to do any structural changes to implement it the way it was, and they said no, it was just a paint job. So that if it was determined at some point that it was able to flip it, it could be done in not too difficult a way. There's no structural change. I just, from hearing from the neighbors, that they've lost their parking, and I've talked to the neighbors on the other side, on the west side, who both seem to be okay with if it were flipped back to the west side. So if there was the ability to look at flipping it back, I think it might be worth looking at.
Living on the west side, I've got probably 200 feet of frontage at the corner from Elmhurst. I'm not opposed to having that be a red zone. And I know the neighbor between my property and the hotel also feels they want to have a red zone in front of their property because they're sick and tired of the hotel employees parking in front of their property.
Thank you. All right.
I just want to add that if you moved it over, right now the trucks going to Maringers are hugging the east side of the road. If you move that over and have the highway out more, Manger would have more ease in going around into Pratt Avenue. Right now, it's a tight turn for them. You move it over, they got an easier turn, and there's 100 times more traffic on Pratt than going up Los Cabos.
Okay. All right. We've got at least some thoughts to think about here as we move forward. Anything further? All right. We'll go on to 10.2. This was a discussion regarding a mayor's forum. Going back in time, I've been very impressed with the mayor of Calistoga and the way he's conducted forums. Typically, the way it's worked up there is that it's a specific topic is chosen. Often there's one other member of the city council present besides the mayor, so that one other and with a specific topic in mind that generally speaking avoids Brown Act problems. That's why that's done. And his way of doing it is to be fairly informal about it, in the sense that folks gather in sort of a semicircle so that people are talking with one another. Mayor Canning does a terrific job of keeping people on topic. Often, depending upon the topic, there is a technical person from city staff, sometimes the city manager, just depending on the topic. But I'm very open to proceeding down this road. I think in terms of how many, it's an open question, but I think probably once a month sounds reasonable if we can do it. And for example, you mentioned earlier that water quality has been the subject of significant discussion, and it might be useful, for example, to have a forum that addresses that discusses water quality, including getting into some more technical detail for those who wish it, in terms of how the city goes about testing water quality, where it's tested, what the federal and state requirements are, a discussion about that. But that's obviously going to involve city staff and technical folks that can address those issues. And I would certainly be more than happy if folks in town could send me emails about topics that they would like to see addressed in a mayor's forum, and we undertake to do some of that in the next few months, maybe on a monthly basis, possibly at Carnegie at the Carnegie Library in the front room there. I did go to one that Chris Canning conducted that dealt with the county fairground up in Napa, and dealt with a joint power agreement, potentially what that might entail between the city of Calistoga and the county of Napa, which owns the fairground up there. And he was very persistent, I must say, in terms of keeping the conversation focused on what should be in that joint powers agreement, what the issues were involved in the joint powers agreement, and keeping the discussion away from sort of the history where everybody had his or her own view as to how the city and the county got to where they are today, with what is apparently perceived to be a fairground and buildings that are in very substantial need of care and reconstruction for the fairground to serve the community up there. And of course, it gets complicated because Calistoga as a community views the fairground as kind of its property, when in fact it's owned by the county of Napa. So that, but in any event, that's their issue. But it was not conducted in a semicircle that time because there were 40 or 50 people there, and it was at the community center. Too many people there for a semicircle. But that's. In any event, I was impressed with the way Calistoga is proceeding, and I would very much enjoy for us to try and proceed on topics of interest to the community that way, maybe at the rate of perhaps once a month or so.
What kind of follow-up is there as far as telling the rest of the council what's happened at these meetings, or what kind of information is the community is getting? You know, I realize we have Brown Act issues, so we can't all show up. And we have, you know, also as one of our goals talked about improving our engagement process with the public generally. I don't have a problem trying this, you know, out, but I think there are a lot of other things that we need to do as a council and a community to get out and talk about things. Like, for instance, in the SHAPE committee, I can see us maybe having a series of meetings in the neighborhoods, maybe with committee members and a couple of council members to get out and talk about some of the issues. And I wouldn't want to foreclose the opportunity for other kind of outreach, you know, of that type.
Well,
but how does Chris follow up with the whole council?
First of all, in response to your question, I don't see going down this road with a mayor's forum forecloses any other form of outreach at all. It's just a form of outreach, one of several that we shouldn't consider. In terms of the specific forum that I went to, there was one other city council member there. The vice mayor was there. City manager was there, and I must say the mayor was very specific with the group that they were. That this would be coming up before the council, and that he went through the Brown Act and was very specific that they should try not to communicate what was discussed at that meeting with other council members for fear of violating the meeting rules.
And then when he comes to the next meeting, does he report out to the full council?
Well, I think it would be I don't think it would be reported out other than through an agenda item in that specific case, because the city was considering what the terms of would be in a joint powers agreement, and so that would have been an agendized discussion. But again, depending upon the topic, I think this is an area where certainly I'm could turn to Mr. Brown for advice to make sure that we don't run afoul of the Brown Act, and see how we can, in the context of what we need to do on the agenda, to report back to the city council as to what happened in a particular forum. Maybe.
Well, for the city council to be able to discuss anything, and certainly to take action on anything, the matter has to be agendized under the Brown Act. So, unless I'm misunderstanding, I think it would be a natural and easy way for the council to take this up, to both hear about it and discuss it, would be to just include it as a regular part of the agenda, an item for the mayor to report out and the city council to engage in discussion and any follow-up direction from that.
Yeah. Good.
So would it be looked at as sort of a town hall, but with one specific item?
Well, as I said, the way Mayor Canning does it is a specific topic is chosen, and he does a very good job of keeping the discussion focused on that specific topic, so it doesn't wander off the topic. The topic's announced. And so, again, I would very much invite members of the public, our residents, to send me emails about what they would like to see as topics for Mayor's Forum. And I do think water quality might be a good one. So, any further discussion with respect to this item at this point in time?
I just think it'd be nice to include another council member, rotate it.
Yes.
There are 5 of us.
Yes.
Take a crack at listening to what people have to say.
Yes, and I think that's what Mayor Canning tries to do. All right. I think that takes us to the end of our agenda. And it's just 10 of 7. My goodness. Thanks very much, everybody.